Hello, friends! Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. I am having some serious issues with my streaming software. I am sorry for starting late. Let me see. Hopefully this works. Hopefully you can hear me. If you're watching live, throw a message in the chat. Um, this is Morning Tea with CJ, where I drink tea and browse the web. You may have noticed I'm not starting at my regular time today. I'm pushing back the Sunday stream to 10:30 a.m. Uh, America Denver time, um, mainly just so I can sleep in a little bit more on Sunday. But in this show, I basically browse Reddit. So we're gonna browse r/JavaScript. We're gonna browse r/WebDev. We're gonna browse r/programming, and just talk about the latest news. Andy says audio and video are good, just some skipping is all. Hopefully that works itself out now that I have um, started actually like streaming and talking. If it keeps happening, let me know. I'll try to fix it. Cool. And I have a message on Reddit. Maybe this was from when I replied last time. Oh yeah, this was the last time when a guy was trying to. He was asking questions about like debugging a Node app. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll respond to him later. Cool. All right, so we're on r/JavaScript, and just a quick note: if you go to github.com/codinggarden, and there is a morning tea repo, and this is where I post all of the links to all the things that I'll cover. So I'll add a new folder for today and be adding links in there. First link: Blackjack application with JavaScript. Audio is stuttering. Oh no! Let me see real quick. Yeah. Oh, okay. YouTube was saying that not receiving enough data, but now it says it is receiving enough data. Check. Let's see. Here's what I'm gonna do. I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Okay, I'm back. Let me know if it's still happening. I restarted my streaming software, but yeah, I don't want to do a whole stream where nobody can hear me and it's stuttering because that would be very annoying. So please let me know. All right, this first one, Blackjack application with JavaScript. Let's check it out. I actually do. Oh no, it's still happening. Okay. Also, let me double check the stream. So I should be able to hear. Just a second. This is what happens when you do a live show. Okay. Yeah, it is absolutely stuttering, and that is very annoying. All right. Give me 1 minute. I might disappear for just a second. I'm gonna unplug, replug, restart, all that good stuff. Okay. um, I'm gonna double check myself, but I think that maybe fixed it. That's better? Okay. Cool. Sorry about this, guys. Um, take those off. All right. If it is not better, please let me know. Andy's saying it's better. Saved. Sweet. Okay. All right. All right. I promise it's going to be worth it. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. All right. This very first link, Blackjack application with JavaScript. Here. A few weeks ago, I wrote an article about calculating the probability of certain outcomes in Blackjack using Python. Ooh. Hey Bob, welcome to the chat. The idea was that you could set up a scenario in Blackjack by creating a simulated game, then simulate the outcome of that game 1,000,000 times and figure out what the probability is of certain outcomes. It got me thinking, though, how much more useful something like that would be if I created an actual game that would calculate those probabilities in real time. Whoa! So, like, you're playing a game of Blackjack and it's literally giving you probabilities. All right, let's try it. Current chance that dealer's hand is higher than yours, 0%. I am going to stand with a 20. Dealer busts, I win. Sweet. New game. I have 16 right now, so if you ever played Blackjack, a lot of times people say stand on 16 because you have a higher probability of busting. However, this says that there's only a 35% chance that the dealer's hand is higher than mine. I'm going to stand at a 16. And the dealer wins with an 18. Okay. I'm at a 17. This is another one of those things where you might not hit. So, stand. Ooh, it's a draw. 76. Okay, so this makes sense because I only have a hand of 8. So it's a 76% chance that the dealer has a higher hand. Let's hit. Now I have 18. He's showing a 15, so there's a 50% chance that he has more. But I'm going to stand at an 18. And we tie at 18. Wow. This is pretty cool. It says he wrote it with Python. Let's take a quick stretch. Yeah, let's read a little bit more of the article. So he's actually using the Deck of Cards API. If you haven't heard of this, it's pretty sweet. It's a full-on API, and essentially you can make a request to get a new deck of cards, you can make a request to shuffle the deck, you can make a request to deal the deck, and whatever, yeah, so when you make your initial request, your deck has a unique ID. So you're basically, it's like a deck of cards hosted in the cloud through an API, and you can like build an app around the Deck of Cards API. So I guess that's what he's using. That's pretty cool. So on load, set the initial values of all players, reset all initial values to 0, fetch and shuffle the deck, draw all 52 cards, deal 2 cards to each player. And actually, I'm pretty sure that Deck of Cards API actually allows you to have multiple decks inside of it. Because a lot of time when you're playing games like Blackjack or poker, it reduces your ability to guess what the next cards might be if there are multiple decks. Yeah, so you can do deck count. So you could deal a deck with like 10 decks. Well, yeah, get a deck with like 10 decks in it, so it actually increases or decreases the probability of each card in the deck. It's pretty cool. So I'm curious where the JavaScript comes in, because he did say he was using Python. So yeah, so he's using like just JavaScript with jQuery on the front end, and then oh, it's all JavaScript. That's cool. He could definitely work on his code formatting in the blog. But yeah, this is really cool. I like this. Because, I mean, if you think about it, like, it's not too hard to calculate probabilities if there's only one deck of cards. And it's based on, like, what the dealer is showing and what you have and what you've already seen. And it gets reset, I think, every time a new hand gets dealt, which is pretty cool. I'm going to throw this link in the document real quick. Do I have any gamblers in the chat? Anybody play Blackjack or poker or anything like that? Texas Hold'em, yeah. I play Texas Hold'em with friends every now and then. We have a poker night. Actually, I think tonight might actually be a poker night. I just got a text. Here we go. Yeah, but really interesting article, and I am definitely going to write a game live on stream one day soon. I haven't done it yet, but I absolutely should, because games are fun, and they're really not that much different from, like, if you're not using a game engine or anything like that. You could use DOM manipulation, or you could use even just like the built-in state management of like Vue or something like that. Um, yeah, I actually did a hackathon at Develop Denver um, end of last year, and we made a game using Vue.js. It was a simple like a card flipping app where like there were 6 cards on the screen, and you would click one to reveal like the text behind it, and each card had like a different. It was either like you were standing on grass or standing on dirt. But we didn't use a game engine. It was literally just like logic inside of our Vue.js app. Slither Io remote. What is a Slither Io? The smash hit game that I've never heard of. Let's see. All right, let's play it. Nickname CJ. Play. Don't run into other players. Oh, is this network based? Like everyone else online playing is actually in the same map. And do I get points? Actually, am I supposed to use my mouse? Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's a big one. Yeah, I'm thinking that yeah, this is like network based. Like every other player playing online right now, um, is on the same board. Ooh, he just died. This would be very cool. I think I could definitely do like a single player version live on stream, and then maybe incorporate like Feathers.js to make it real time and multiple people able to play. I mean, I guess this is like Snake, right? So like, what happens if I run into somebody? I die. Okay. Yeah, that would be really fun. I'm gonna throw that on the list. You pop other worms by cutting them off and getting bigger and bigger. Okay, yeah. So the fact that I ran into that other worm is why I died. Very cool. That would be fun. Note to self. Make a Slither Io remake. Tron light cycle style. Ooh. So let's just look up some Tron images. Yeah, we could come up with like an interesting theme, like a similar game dynamic where you're like running around the screen, trying not to run into other people, but it doesn't have to be worms. Light cycle game. Yeah, so like I guess in Tron light cycle is the thing running behind you getting bigger and bigger, just like it is with the worm. I don't know. This would be cool. We're a little off topic, but that would definitely be awesome for a future live stream. Okay, I think in the very first morning tea episode that I did, I talked about Parcel, which is essentially a replacement for Webpack. I mean, not a replace. Like they can both exist at the same time. But here's an article. Give Parcel a try. You may like it. When I tried it, it was awesome. Like I was literally able to spin up a React app without create React app, just creating like 3 or 4 files, and Parcel took care of the rest, which was pretty awesome. So it's blazing fast, zero configuration web application bundler. And they recently released the ability to bundle Vue.js apps, which they weren't able to do in the past. Wow, I can't believe I'm typing this article right now. Webpack and I have gone through so much. Is this... I'm curious who wrote this article. Was it somebody associated with Webpack? Michael Schulte. Okay. Remember the first time I deleted hundreds of lines in Gulp configuration in favor of 60-something lines of Webpack configuration. I hadn't felt this good since. Well, when I deleted thousands of lines of Grunt configuration. Yeah, it's like if you've been in the web development community for a while, like we've gone through transformations. Like Grunt might have been one of there were probably others before, but Grunt was like a really popular configuration and bundling and minifying tool. But it was configuration based, and then Gulp came out and it was not configuration based. You actually wrote JavaScript code to write your bundle configuration. I don't want to use the word configuration because it was configuration. And then Webpack came out and it was configuration based, sort of. Yeah, configuration based. And now Parcel came along, and essentially it just works, and you have zero configuration. However, Webpack version 4 is trying to do a very similar thing where they have like built-in default configuration, and you only add your own configuration if you need to. You dinosaurs have probably never seen Webpack. This makes me so efficient I can save hours every day. What do you do with all the spare time? I configure Webpack. Wow, you can save even more time. That's about right. Yeah, still using Gulp. And the thing is, like, a lot of projects, like, especially like if you're working at a company where this project started a year ago, 2 years ago, it might not make sense to switch over to Webpack or switch over to Parcel or something like that. Especially if everything is just working, and it is going to take a bit of work. But if Parcel is zero configuration, you might be able to plug it in and it just works. Nice little timeline. Yeah, so 2009, jQuery, why would I want that? JavaScript works just fine. Angular 1x, jQuery works just fine. Gulp, Grunt is just fine. ES6, Babel, ES5 works just fine. React, Angular 1 works just fine. TypeScript, yeah, this is the past few years of web development, like the evolution of things, and things change fast. Yeah, so they talk about creating like a Webpack app, and then doing the same thing with Parcel. Yeah, so you literally, all you have to do is add the Parcel bundler, and you don't have to add any other dependencies, and it just works. You write your code in a single file, and it knows how to it knows how to transpile TypeScript, it knows how to transpile Sass and less, it knows how to convert Vue single file components. It has all of that just built in. Yeah, so that one dependency replaced all of these other dependencies because it automatically has CSS loading and CSS text extraction and all that good stuff. I recommend checking it out. At the end of every morning tea, I usually like to, well, what happened here? I usually like to actually write some code. If I can't find anything else, I might do something with Parcel real quick just to show you how easy it is. And actually, I might do the build an app with Vue because I haven't tried that yet. The building a Parcel app with Vue. Plus minus 0, nan, and Object.is in JavaScript. The last few days I was in, what is that? Cluj, Napoca? Oh, it's in Romania. Commonly known as Cluj, the fourth most populous city in Romania. Okay, so he was there and spoke at the JS Heroes conference. Very cool. The recording is from, okay, so in the talk, V8 internals for JavaScript developers. Actually, I believe I've watched this one. I saw the one he did at, it might have been like a C++ conf. Let's see. Is this the same guy? Yes, yeah, and they're actually, I don't know if this one shows his screen. Let's see. Actually, I'll find a better link because he gave the same talk at another conference and they showed the actual code on his slides. It's super interesting because he just talked about how when you do certain things with arrays, how the JavaScript engine is able to actually optimize the code that's being run depending on what you do. Like if you start off with a sparse array, which is an array that has no values in it, it's actually harder for the JavaScript engine to optimize the operations that are going to happen on it. And so he talks about do's and don'ts, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. But he saw this very interesting code snippet. Object.is -0 and +0. So let's see what happens when we run that code. Let's do this. False. So a -0. Excuse me, just a second. A -0 is not a +0. And I think Object.is works differently than triple equals, or does it? Yeah. So Object.is is doing something a little bit different. There are two existent zeros in JavaScript. The first fact is that numbers in JavaScript are following the IEEE standard for floating point arithmetic. Okay? It defines a sign and significand and an exponent to describe each finite number. To understand how this works, it may take some time, but the important fact is there is one bit in JavaScript numbers which defines if a number is positive or negative, which means that 0 can be negative too. What? Okay. My first reaction to this discovery of negative zeros was I surely don't have these in my code. But yeah, when you round 0.23, that's going to round to 0, and it's negative, so you end up with a negative 0. Wow. Yeah, and so I just tried this. When you compare a negative 0 and a positive 0, in terms of equality, they are equal. But Object.is... Actually, let's look this up on MDN real quick, because I guess it isn't equality. It's like, are they the same value? Interesting. Yeah, so Annie in the chat is saying 0, it's like 0 should be its own primitive. I think this might have a lot to do with the fact that even primitives in JavaScript have like object wrappers. Let's take a quick break, take a sip of your tea. So the fact that you can do, or you can do this, you can do true.toString. What actually happens here is, because if we think about primitive values, then we shouldn't be able to dot on them, because that would make them like objects. But what actually happens is, in the moment, JavaScript will pass this value into the Boolean constructor. Boolean. Pass in the primitive value, so then the Boolean constructor now has those methods on it, and then call it on the value that you're calling it on. But even though you just write your code like this, it's actually getting wrapped in an object. So I think something similar is happening here. Like when you create a number with like negative 0, and then a number with positive 0, that I think is probably what's happening when it says Object.is. It's turning it into the object wrapper. I don't know. Let's read the article. So the strict comparison with triple equals didn't catch the fact that the two zeros are not the same. And yeah, so this is another JavaScript quirk. If you do like nan triple equals nan, that is false. And it's interesting to think about because nan represents not a number. And so it's like comparing not a number to not a number. They're both not a number, and they're both, I guess, not the same value, so they're not equal. I don't know. Yeah, Wemo in the chat says JavaScript probably has the most weirdest quirks out of all the programming language. It really does. I think for me, it's fun to learn about these things, though. Like, for some programmers, it can just make you extremely mad and like, why doesn't it just behave like C++ or something like that? I don't know. I think it's interesting. Maybe that's a weird attitude to take because it's like, hey man, this is like weird. Yeah, so typically if you are trying to compare against nan, you do number.isNan, and that'll tell you whether or not the thing is nan. These occasions are when Object.is could come into play. In most cases, it behaves the same as triple equals, but it includes some minor improvements which make things a bit more logical. Okay, so isNan is probably using Object.is under the hood. Andy mentions it's an awesome topic. He saw a funny TEDx video worth sharing. And Bob says JavaScript gets pretty existential. There's actually, I don't know if this is the video that you're referring to, Andy, but there is the WAT video. It's like 5 minutes long, and it's hilarious. Won't watch it, but I'll throw a link in the chat to check it out. It kind of goes into some of the weird things about JavaScript. I'll put it in the show notes too. What is happening? Oh. The more I type, like, my editor is behaving weirdly. Okay. But I think this is where he's going with this. Like, when you use Object.is, it uses probably like the object wrapper around those two to make sure that they are equal. The downside, not everybody knows about the existence of -0. Cool. Very interesting article. Yes. Very interesting. Let's throw that there. This is +0, -0, nan, and object is in JavaScript. I don't know. I feel like I've been writing JavaScript for so long. I'm like, I feel sorry for it. Like, I'm okay with the weird things in it, and I want to learn about them. When in reality, like, they're weird, man. And like, especially for like a beginner coming to this language, there's so many weird things in it that you could never possibly learn them all. I guess the thing is, there aren't a lot of. I guess there are. I was gonna say there aren't a lot of gotchas. There kind of are. I don't know. I guess I'll stop talking. What is it? Stockholm syndrome? Like you fall in love with your captor? I think that's what's happened with me in JavaScript. Let's click one more link on r/JavaScript and then move on to r/webdev. Lightweight form validation framework in React. React chloroform. Interesting. So I'm curious if this allows integration with Redux. Let's see, no hooking up, super lightweight and easy to use. Form validation library with only React and prop types as its dependency. Install it. And then let's see an example. So got a basic React component. Initial state has an email and a name. And then you have your like is required validation function that just makes sure that the length of the value is greater than 0. Okay. And you're importing form from this library, so you're not using like the standard DOM form, you're using this component's form so it can actually do the validation. And I guess they might have created components for all the different types of things you would need, like inputs and buttons. So you create a form, you give it its initial state, which is that, and then on submit, you give it the function that should get called. So I'm guessing the naming of the items might come into play, or no, maybe not, because the validator, you just pass in your validation function, and then you have this error component, which will just show the error below it. It's pretty cool. Interesting. I don't use React much, but it seems like this reduces a lot of the boilerplate, especially when you're dealing with forms in React. Wemo mentions in the chat, so we were talking earlier about like the weird things in JavaScript. It's because JavaScript was made in a rush, and it absolutely was. It was like hacked together, made in 10 days. There's a really good, well, Brandon Ike has done a lot of talks on like how he made JavaScript in Brandon Ike. How he made JavaScript in 10 days, but he did a talk on JavaScript Air, I think it was. Yeah, the past, present, and future of JavaScript. And he just talks about like the history of JavaScript and how it started and how he was asked to do it in 10 days. And initially he told he was going to be doing Scheme in the browser, and Scheme is like a functional programming language. But then there was like all this politics with Java, where they wanted to use the name of Java, and then they used like the syntax of Java, which actually came from C-style syntax, and then he ended up introducing all these functional concepts into it anyways. I don't know. Super interesting history. That's a great watch. And then also, if you don't listen to JavaScript Jabber, it is a podcast where they just talk about JavaScript news. But I think it's episode 123. No. 124. I was close. Brandon Ike was on this episode as well, and he talks about very similar things. I think of this one and that one, I probably liked the podcast more. I feel like he just went into a little bit more depth, but Yeah, this is a great episode. We're talking about quirks in JavaScript. We're talking about the history of JavaScript. And as a JavaScript developer, you should care about these things because they're awesome. Yeah, so let's check out. I'll throw this link to the React thing in my show notes. Is anyone out there using React? Like anybody that watching the show? I know a lot of my subscribers actually come from or found me through like my Vue.js videos. So a lot of people actually use Vue. I've used React every now and then. All right, on to r/webdev. VS Code extension pack plugin containing essential plugins for web development. Let's check it out. Handpicked collection of VS Code extensions. So if you use VS Code, they have this pretty cool concept called an extension pack, where it's like a collection of extensions for a specific thing. Like there's the Vue.js extension pack for VS Code, and it includes tons of awesome plugins that just make working with Vue and VS Code a lot better. Auto close tag, which is awesome. If you've ever seen me like working on an HTML document, I mean, I mostly use snippets, but if I were, especially like if I'm working in a Vue template file, if I do like my custom component and then close it, it automatically closes the ending part of it. So that plugin exists for Atom as well. And then the other thing is double tag. So if I start opening this intro, the starting tag, the closing one gets edited as well. And this even works if there's like tons and tons of content in between. So a lot of times you might go into like update a tag name, and it'll automatically edit both at the same time, which is pretty sweet. Auto comment blocks. What's this guy do? Oh, yeah, like when you do a new line, it automatically inserts a star there. That's pretty cool. All right. People are liking it. It has one comment. This next one, split string using ES6 spread. Oh, that makes sense. So if you're not familiar with the spread operator, it essentially takes the operand on the right hand side of the spread and takes all of the values and either puts them into an array or puts them as properties on an object. So let's see this in action. So like pizza, and if you split that on the empty string, you get an array with each of the individual values. But if you do an array and then you spread the word pizza, essentially what it says is take each of the values in here and add them as values inside of this outer array. So by doing that, you get the same thing. Pretty interesting. This might have performance implications. Like using the spread operator might actually be faster than using split because of some optimizations that it can do under the hood. I don't know. It'd be interesting to test it out. But yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, I might be old school since I prefer the former. The old syntax is self-documenting while the new is just confusing. It's true to say, like, you would have to be familiar with the spread operator to know what this thing is actually doing, whereas calling a function named split kind of infers, hey, it's probably going to take this thing and split it. Let's see some other comments. Fun fact, the old syntax breaks on characters greater than 0xFFF. Wow. Check this out. Okay, so if you're not familiar, like an emoji is actually a Unicode character. So like even though you're seeing that, it actually that's just the way the screen is displaying it to us, but it's actually like a Unicode character. So if we spread this, that works. But I think this is saying if we split it, it actually gives us two values. Yeah, because it's made up of Unicode characters. Interesting. So that comment was basically saying the only good use case for using the spread operator to split a string is when it's an emoji, which happens, I guess. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of newer syntax things in like ES 2015 that like it's more terse. Like it's smaller, less descriptive, and so you have to know about that thing to actually know what the line of code is doing. Cool. Let's check that out. I'll throw this in the show notes. Old Minesweeper clone I created. It would be really fun to do an episode where I create a Minesweeper clone. Let's play it. All right. Okay, so if you're not familiar with how Minesweeper works, it's like this means that there is one mine touching this square and one mine touching this square, and then there are two touching the square. So it doesn't tell us much. Okay. Can we switch the style? Ooh, okay. What about that? Okay. It's a little bit better. So this tells me that that's probably a mine right there. That's probably a mine. Because if there's one touching it, then... Oh, no! Because if there's only one touching it, I think it counts diagonal. I'm not very good at this game. Let's take a quick stretch. Okay, I've gotten really lucky so far. Extremely lucky so far, because I'm just guessing at this point. That one. Oh, yeah, and so if you get a mine, then all the mines explode. Cool. That was fun. I think that would also be a very cool game to potentially make. And like with vanilla JavaScript, like no game engine or anything like that. Minesweeper clone. Operator Mono is the Comic Sans of 2018. What? Let's look at the font. Oh, yeah. So you've probably seen, or you might have seen, people that use this this font in their code on like attributes, or I think like built-in methods. Like there's a plugin you can install in either Atom or VS Code where it makes certain things in your code use like the script version of this font. Interesting. So this person's complaining about it. Example here. Let's see it. Yeah. If you ever watch Wes Boss videos, he uses this code style. But like keywords in the language are actually have that like the script style, and then everything else is like your regular font. I think the main reason to do this is just like your eyes see those things differently, so you know that those are like built in versus when you're using other things. I personally don't like it, which is why I haven't enabled it. But I've seen a lot of coding tutorials where people are using that style. I'm seeing more and more people using it, especially in Medium articles. Let's check it out. Oh yeah, I clicked this link a while back on maybe 1 or 2 coding gardens ago. But yeah, they're using that font in there. I use FireCode. All the ligatures, none of the fancy cursive. Let's check it out. Monospaced font with programming ligatures. Yeah. So the idea is when you do like exclamation mark equals, the font will actually show this instead of exclamation mark equals. So it's like it's easier to identify when you're using different operators. Or if you're doing like a fat arrow function, it'll actually turn equal sign greater than into the actual fat arrow ligature. Yeah, so your code will end up looking like this. So when you do like less than or equals, instead of seeing instead of seeing less than equals sign, you actually see the full thing. Yeah, Andy's saying he uses Fira. It looks pretty sweet. I've never actually tried using anything like it. This, however, I think is like slightly like less intrusive than using like this script font for your code. You aren't alone, and neither are the people who like it. Yeah, so some people like it, some people don't. That's this person's comment. Let's give them an upvote. I use it for coding. I think it looks amazing. Yeah, Andy is saying like when you use Fire code, it will essentially take multiple characters and concatenate them into a single character space. Like, for example, like this less than or equal to, typically like it would be like less than equal to, but when it sees that, it puts it into a single character. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. This font costs $200. This script font. Yeah, it's all a matter of personal opinion. I personally don't like it, which is why I have not installed and used it. Like, I mean, I've seen a lot of coding tutorials where they are using it, and I think if I liked it, I would have said, hey, maybe I'll install that, but I don't. Let's link to it. Okay. Let's click like one more, maybe. Actually, let's move on to r/programming. And then maybe I'll use Vue with Parcel. Why programmers are not paid in proportion to their productivity. Ooh. Ooh, this is from 2009. The most productive programmers are orders of magnitude more productive than average programmers, but salaries usually fall within a fairly small range in any company. Even across the entire profession, salaries don't vary that much. If some programmers are 10 times more productive than others, then why aren't they paid 10 times as much? Andy just mentioned he asked for a good alternative to like a cursive font in Atom. I'm sure there is one out there. Like, you don't have to pay $200 for it, probably. Programmers are most effective when they avoid writing code. It's so true. Like, if you use an existing solution, an existing tested solution, your code is going to be more reliable because you didn't write everything from scratch, and you can depend on like existing tests for a library that you're using or something like that. They may realize the problem they're being asked to solve doesn't need to be solved, that the client doesn't actually want what they're asking for. They may know where to find reusable or re-editable code that solves their problem. They may cheat. But just when they're being their most productive, nobody says, wow, you were just 100 times more productive than if you've done this the hard way. You deserve a raise. Yeah, that's about right. Super interesting. It's like a really old article. I'm curious why it has so many upvotes. Yeah. However you measured productivity, which it may be lines of code, bugs fixed, tickets closed. You might have someone gaming the system, like a single word on every line in their source code, or deliberately introducing bugs so they can solve more bugs. Yeah. Spawned a good discussion. Let's throw it in here. There we go. Buffunge, the Rube Goldberg machine of coding languages. Interesting. Okay, if you are not familiar with Rube Goldberg machines, let's look one up on YouTube. The idea is, it's like those things where like you hit over a domino and then it just has like this chain effects of like lots of different things happening. Let's see this one. I don't have the sound on, but we can see it happen. Oh, okay. Yeah, so like they press the button and it goes off. Okay. Whoa. All right, but you get the idea. That's a Rube Goldberg machine, where essentially it's like a chain reaction. Like one thing fires it off, and then all these other things are happening. So this person is saying this is the Rube Goldberg machine of coding languages. Yeah, and if you have not heard of this coding language, which I will not say because there might be young people watching at home, but you can check out their Wikipedia article. It is insane to see a code written using this language. So this has lots of comments on it, but essentially the language is nothing but plus signs, brackets, greater than or equal sign, greater than signs, less than signs, and essentially you can write any program using just that syntax. Yeah, so this is the code to say hello world in this language, that language. So yeah, super interesting. If you haven't seen languages of like this, just Google like esoteric programming languages. An esoteric programming language is a programming language designed to test the boundaries of computer programming language design as a proof of concept, as software art, as a hacking interface to any other language, or as a joke. Yeah, so this has a list of a bunch of them. This one's super interesting. It essentially allows you to write JavaScript code using only 6 characters. So brackets, parentheses, exclamation marks, and plus signs. And it essentially, you can paste in any JavaScript program and it will turn it into all of those different characters. I think there's a converter online. Here we go. Yeah. So if I say like console.log hello world and then click encode, it gives me that, and I do believe if I paste this over here, it should say hello world. Hello world. So these things exist. They're not very useful, but they are, as that Wikipedia article mentioned, they test the limits of programming languages. And so this person is saying this one, buffoonge. So the easiest way to explain how it's run by an interpreter is showing a working example. What way is better than a hello world program? Okay. Code is interpreted by the orange cursor, which starts at the top left cell, moving to the right. When it moves across a character, something happens. Interesting. So this does hello world, but it like, watch the cursor, like it goes across and then down and then up. It's like following these arrows, which are executing the line above them. Doop, doop, doop. Wow. Yeah, so the cursor is like following the arrows to see what it should execute next. Wow. Okay, yeah. So like this is it's super interesting. So like the cursor will follow the arrows, and essentially this is like when it goes across here, it's storing the value, and then it goes down here, and this is outputting that value. And then it follows the arrows again to go back and do it again. Wow. Random number generator. The question mark can send the cursor in any 4 directions. We need to be a little careful that we don't let the cursor escape our construction. If it did escape every now and then, our generator wouldn't be uniformly distributed. Cool. Super interesting. While I'm thinking about it, though, so I mentioned like esoteric programming languages. There was one called like lolcat lang. I think it was in the esoteric programming list. Oh, lolcode. It's designed to resemble lolcats, but the code looks like this. It's like, hi, can has standard out, visible, hi world, k thanks bye. So like, hi is how you start your program, and k thanks bye is how you end your program. Let's look it up real quick. Lolcode. Yeah, so you can actually write your code using words like that. There's also like an esoteric programming language that is, I think it's called like Shakespeare script or something like that, where essentially all of your programs are written like plays that have like opening front matter with like who is acting in the play, and those are like your variables. I don't know, it's super interesting. Okay. I have been streaming for a while. We did have some hiccups at the beginning, but I think I want to try to use Parcel real quick with Vue.js, just to see that happening. Andy said chicken in the chat. I'm not sure what that's referencing. Maybe I said something earlier. Let's take a quick break before we jump into this Parcel example. Take a sip of your tea. Cheers. Okay, build Vue.js apps with Parcel. Yeah, typically, like when you build a Vue app, you do like you can use the CLI tool, and it generates like a Webpack config for you. Cool. Oh, so that's a coding language. It's like bytecode, but with chicken. Let's look at it real quick. Chicken coding language. So depending on the number of chickens on one line, determines what that line is actually going to do. Beautiful. So this is how you do hello world with chicken. That's fantastic. Okay. Yeah, let's just follow this tutorial. It shows it pretty simple, but let's do this. So I'm in this directory. I'm gonna delete this test file from earlier. Let's make a directory in here. Let's call it Vue with Parcel. And then inside of there, I'm gonna need a source directory. It's where my code is gonna go. And then we'll go into that directory. So we're in the Vue with Parcel directory. Let's initialize this as a Git repository. And then we need to install Parcel. Let's see. So yeah, and it's putting the index.html at the root. So let's do that. And it's saying Babel is needed. Okay. So in our Vue with Parcel directory, let's create index.html. We'll just do that basic thing right there. And then we're going to need a main.js in our source directory, and then an app.vue in our source directory. Okay, so we've got that. Just making sure I get everything else set up before we actually write the code. And so we also need a Babel RC. This tells it how it needs to transpile it. Okay. So we need to add Vue, and then we need to add the Parcel bundler. We need to add Parcel plugin Vue so it knows how to interpret Vue component files, and then the Babel preset. Okay, let's do that. So when we add Vue, that is actually just a dependency. So if we look at our package JSON, that's listed under dependencies. But then all of these other things, Parcel bundler, Parcel plugin Vue, all of those are dev dependencies. So you'll notice the -d at the end. Oh, that was wrong. Let's install those. Cool. And yeah, now we write the code. So this is like any standard Vue app you've ever written. So like in our main.js, it brings in Vue, it brings in our main component, and then it just renders that main component on the element with the ID app. So if you look at your index.html, that is where our Vue.js app is going to live. And then inside of app.vue, we can just create a simple Vue component. So throw like an h1 with the message. Oh. And then on here, we can have some data, which is a function that returns an object with a message property. And this will be hello coding garden. Let's give it some basic styles. Well, let's put this in a div, or let's put it in a section, and give this a class of app. And then our app class will have a font family of monospace and a margin of 0, 2ems, 0, 2ems. Okay. So we got our Vue component. Got all that good stuff. Now running Parcel. I should be able to run npx Parcel. Let's do this though. So let's add a script in our package JSON. So start will just be Parcel. And then build will be Parcel build. And build essentially is what we'll take our Vue files and everything else and transpile it to be able to run in the browser. Okay. We've set everything up. Let's see what happens. We'll do npm start. Installing all those things. Took 11 seconds, and it said it was running on port 1234. Let's check it out. Hello, Coding Garden. It worked. And that's, I guess, the thing about this, though, so super basic app right now, but this is all the configuration that's needed. So now I can go in, I can add new components in this directory, I can import them in, I can add Vuex or Vuetify or any other libraries in here, and that's pretty much all the configuration that I need, which is pretty cool. So now if we kill that, we can do npm run build, and that'll do Parcel build. Did I not call it that? What did I call it? I'll call it dev. No, this should be called build. Okay, and it put everything in dist, and we check out the dist folder. It created all those separate files. Curious, which is the main one? 60, so this is the most recent one. And that's bringing in script files. There might be like a command line flag to clean out the old files, because you'll notice, I think like every time it builds, well, that time nothing changed, so they had a different hash. But I have like duplicate files in there. Regardless, this is pretty cool. Like almost zero config setup. Our Vue app is working. It's great. So Parcel is really sweet. However, I'm going to show you something even cooler. And only because like we're working in this Vue app. So the Vue CLI 3.0 introduced this command called Vue serve, and this is like truly zero config. So let me show you how that works. Let's create a directory just called like view serve example. In here, I'll just create a app.view and then do like the same thing. So like we'll have like a section. It will have a class of app, and then inside of there we'll have like an h1 with a message, and then we'll have our data, which is a function that returns an object with a message property that says hello coding garden. And then our app will have some basic styles with a font family of monospace and a let's do like a really big font size, like 3 Ms. Okay, so notice I have this one app.view file. Cool. If you have the Vue CLI 3 installed, all you have to do is say view serve app.view. This automatically will just do everything required and spin up the app. And so now, listening on port 8080, there is our app. So Vue CLI 3 is pretty badass. This is mainly for like prototyping, because you'll notice like there isn't a main.js. You might be able to create that, but like I haven't played around with this enough to figure out like how you would install external libraries. But if you just want to get up and going with like a simple Vue file for like prototyping, this is fantastic. Literally just view, I'll show that command, view serve app.view if you have the Vue CLI 3 installed, and that works. Cool. I thought I'd show that just because it's even less config than using it with Parcel. Okay, I believe that's it for this episode of Morning Tea. I'll link to this in extras. Any last questions, comments, thoughts from anyone watching live? Vue.js with Parcel. Let's close that. I think I will link to like esoteric programming languages also, because they're awesome. Esoteric programming languages. Oh yeah, did I link to this one? Yeah, I did. Okay, but yeah, that's it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you check out coding.garden, you can see my live stream schedule. Tomorrow at 8:20 p.m. America Denver time. So when you visit this page, it'll be in your time zone. I'm going to be doing a full stream. Actually, Chad will be back to finish out part 2 of the Feathers.js app. So if you've seen on the channel, a couple of weeks back, we did, where is it? Yeah, build a real-time question answer app with Feathers.js. And so tomorrow we're going to do part 2 of that. Now, Chad has been working, I believe, on the front end and done a little bit of styling and stuff like that. But I do believe he hasn't really done much with the back end, so we're really going to finish out this app, add more endpoints, and really get into the good stuff with Feathers.js, with like real-time syncing and stuff like that. So that'll be fun. Tuesday, Tony should be back for Newbie Tuesday. Don't know for sure yet, but he should be. And then Wednesday, I'm going to do code katas again. So if you missed that this past week, I did a stream where for a little over an hour and a half, I just solved code katas from Code Wars. And I showed like different ways to solve them. And if you have any suggestions for ones that I should do on stream, you can go to the GitHub repo on Coding Garden, just called Code Katas. And under issues, you can make a suggestion for one that you would like me to do on stream. There was a comment from a woman that asked if I could do this without it timing out. I think I can, so I'm probably going to try to do that one next time. But if you have any other suggestions, feel free to throw them in there as well. Also, if you haven't heard about it, I have this poll to suggest future live stream topics. So I don't have a topic picked for Thursday yet. I might pull from this list, but you can suggest videos for me to do. There's quite a few suggestions in there already. And yeah, so you can go here, suggest a video, or click the heart to vote on existing videos. That's it. That's all I got. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your evening, your night, your morning, wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you later. See you next time.